Uh, uh, I'm a warrior.
And 29 other teams gasping for air. In a Monday night stunner, DeMarcus Cousins agreed to a one-year deal with the Warriors. Sure, Cousins is coming off an Achilles injury, which could keep him sidelined until the calendar year 2019. But for $5.3 million, the Dubs get one of the most versatile bigs in the NBA. And Steph Curry saying, yeah, come on, we got a third splash brother, a guy who can shoot the three. How's that European vacation going for Draymond Green, who helped recruit DeMarcus Cousins to the Bay Area? Leave it to the Warriors to steal the spotlight from LeBron James. Just 24 hours after LeBron joins the Lakers, the winner of 3 of the last 4 NBA titles gets DeMarcus Cousins. Welcome to Free Agent Fever. I'm Jared Greenberg. We'll get you up to speed on who else will be joining LeBron on the Lakers roster, plus Summer League highlights, including a Marvin Bagley dunk you gotta see. First, NBA.com's Sekou Smith joins us by way of the phone with the rich getting richer. Sekou, it's not just that the Warriors get DeMarcus Cousins, it's that nobody else got DeMarcus Cousins. How did the market allow this to happen?
Well, it's crazy, Jared. Apparently nobody else wanted DeMarcus Cousins. He didn't get one single offer at 12:01 when free agency kicked off. He reached out to Bob Myers and the Warriors to gauge their interest in him. And from that initial conversation, word I'm sure spread around, that Warriors roster, and those guys started reaching out to Cousins and letting him know that absolutely he'd be wanted, on that team. And the rest, as they say, is history. Like DeMarcus said, he's a Warrior.
Yeah, and he is, and a guy that can do it all, but first he's got to get healthy. If indeed, Sekou, he is healthy at some point this season and into what is expected to be yet another long playoff run, how dangerous does he make this team and become almost a trade deadline pickup, if you will?
Well, it's unprecedented, Jared. I can't remember a time when we looked at a roster and the starting 5 potentially had all been all-stars or all-NBA players. It's remarkable that the Warriors have stumbled into yet another piece of good fortune. The circumstance that leads DeMarcus Cousins to their roster in a year after they won back-to-back titles. Kevin Durant put together 2 back-to-back Finals MVP seasons, and here you are getting, arguably when he's healthy, the best big man in the league. It gives them a dynamic that they haven't had throughout this run, not even with Andrew Bogut, who was a defensive-minded center who could really affect the game on both ends of the floor. They haven't had a big man who could score inside and out the way DeMarcus Cousins can. And if you unleash him in the playoffs, you're talking about him inside and the Splash Brothers and Kevin Durant outside with Draymond Green playing center field on defense. It's going to be a nightmare.
Talk about the death lineup taken to the next level. Sekou, clearly it appears to be a win-win for both the Warriors and DeMarcus Cousins, who hopes to cash in both with his play and maybe even with his reputation around the league for a big-time deal a year from now. But what about for the league as a whole, when so many people clamoring for parity, and people didn't like it when Durant went to the Warriors? Is this signing a good thing for the NBA?
Well, look, people are going to be complaining about parity and the lack thereof, the tilting of power to the Western Conference with LeBron James, going to Los Angeles. But the truth of the matter is, Jared, the Warriors have just happened on some unbelievable luck. The salary cap spike leads to Kevin Durant, being able to join them a couple of years ago in free agency. An Achilles injury and the market being a little bit tighter this summer leads to DeMarcus Cousins joining them, on a one-year deal for the mid-level, which is insane that you're going to get him for that price. And that's just about pure happenstance. It's not like the Warriors plotted this out or calculated this whole thing, but the fact that they were there and their culture was intact and allowed them to recruit these guys tells you something about, I remember when Joe Lacob said that the Warriors were light years ahead of everybody else around the league, and everybody got really upset, took offense to what he said. But the results seem to favor Joe Lacob.
NBA.com, Sekou Smith. I'm not sure just how much of a talent DeMarcus Cousins truly is. Boogie, just one of 7 in NBA history to average at least 25 points, 12 boards, and 5 assists during a single season. When Cousins tore his Achilles, he was 8th in the league in scoring, 3rd in rebounding, and 21st in assists. Well, let's bring in now Greg Anthony and Billy King for more on this. And guys, prior to suffering a torn Achilles back in late January, the argument could be made that Cousins was actually having a better season at that time than Anthony Davis, who went on to finish 3rd in the MVP voting, right? So how did a 6-time All-Star, Billy, how did he fall into the Warriors' lap?
Well, it became the place, that was the only place he had options for, because other teams had spent their money, and he really didn't get off from New Orleans. I think a lot of people were worried about his Achilles. And so teams that didn't have cap space, the non-playoff teams, they weren't going to spend it on him and give him a long-term deal. A lot of other teams spent their mid-level. They were playoff teams. This is one of the options. There were a few teams out there that had this amount of money. So he looked at it and said, if I'm going to play for that amount of money, I'm going to go play for the best team.
Well, GA, in 8 seasons in the league, Cousins has put up a whole bunch of numbers. There's no question about that. But he's also been right in the center of a lot of controversy during his time in the league, everything from coaches to referees to getting into it with media members. How much can a season with the Warriors on and off the court kind of change all of that?
I think that's a great question, and I think it will help the maturation process. I think their locker room and their culture is strong enough to have him conform. And I think also the fact that he's going to have to rehab, in essence, the better part of the first half of the season, you would expect is going to allow him a chance to do some kind of self-assessment and figuring out, okay, what kind of player do I want to be? Because he's going to get to see what a championship looks like firsthand, not just aspiring to be one. So I think it's a win-win for both. And I will also say this, too, like from a money standpoint, the Achilles meant he wasn't getting a max deal.
Right.
So there are teams out there that have money. He could have gotten more money than he got, but he wasn't going to get, to Billy's point, a long-term deal. And, again, why not go somewhere where I don't have the pressure to have to get back out on the court? They're basically, they could be potentially paying him just to rehab, get right, and it's also an opportunity for them to audition for him if they do want to sign a long-term deal. Because remember, Kevin Durant did do a 1-and-1. Mm-hmm. Draymond Green's going to be up a year from now. Yep. Klay Thompson's going to be up. So you don't really know what this Warriors dynasty is going to look like a season from now. This gives them an opportunity to kind of revamp on the fly if some of those guys ultimately end up taking more lucrative deals elsewhere.
That's a nice insurance policy to have.
It's a nice one.
Guys, Mark Spears from The Undefeated tweeting on Monday night, telling DeMarcus Cousins told Spears that Cousins is shooting to return for training camp. Now, I'm not very good at math, but I think that would put him about 7 months after tearing his Achilles. You've had this injury. Is that at all realistic that Cousins thinks he can be back by training camp?
Well, it's not realistic if he wants to have a long NBA career after he rehabs on this, because it's going to take time. And I think the Golden State Warriors are going to make sure he takes time, because you don't want him to come back too soon and not be ready. They need him really for March, April, and deep into the playoffs. So they're going to be very patient with him and let him really recover nicely. Because the biggest thing with this surgery, once it suits you back together, you've got to stretch it back out. You've got to strengthen that, that Achilles and that heel up. And so it takes time. When I did it in May, and I was jogging on a treadmill by October, but I wasn't an NBA player. I was just trying to get to the point where I could walk without a limp. He's going to be out there where he's running and competing. So the great thing for him is to be able to get back on the court and wants to be able to practice 5-on-5 and get in that situation before he has to go in a game. So if he's back before February, maybe even after All-Star break, that would be a great bonus for them.
All right. Well, still much more to come on all of the reaction from around the world, as everyone's stunned that Cousins is going to the Warriors, including, we'll tell you how Kevin Durant helped make the money work to get Boogie. Now on to a story that has been pushed somehow, some way, from the headline to our number 2 story of the show, LeBron to the Lakers and an endorsement from Laker royalty.
He fully understands what this organization is about, and he's not afraid of that challenge. The beautiful thing about this organization is that there are a lot of jerseys hanging in the rafters that you can bounce ideas off of. You can be a sounding board for. Magic's done that for me. James Worthy's done that. Jerry West's done that. Kareem's done that. And we all rally around each other to try to help our organization be successful. So I think Brian certainly understands the pressure. He certainly understands the level of expectation. And he wants to get a championship back to the city of Los Angeles, and we're all here to help him do it.
Well, the Laker roster not complete just yet. Monday night, LA reportedly agreed to terms with Rajon Rondo. Last season, Rondo fourth in the NBA in assists, a huge reason the Pels returned to the playoffs and reached the second round of the postseason. So Rondo going and Randle leaving. The Lakers busy making the money work, renounced the rights to Julius Randle, making him an unrestricted free agent. Randle didn't waste any time, quickly getting a deal to play with Anthony Davis in New Orleans. So Rondo and Cousins out, Randle is in. So the Lakers roster around LeBron James starting to take shape. The new additions feature some big personalities and some guys who have shown that they prefer to play with the ball in their hand. And none of them really shoot the three ball particularly well. And during LeBron's eight straight trips to the NBA Finals, and he's had the likes guys of, think about it, Ray Allen, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, J.R. Smith, and Kyle Korver around him. What are your thoughts on who the Lakers have added, GA, here over the first 2 days of free agency?
Well, I think they've made really solid moves. Again, you got to keep perspective. He signed a 4-year deal, which when he signed a 4-year deal, that should tell everybody it's a process. I'm not expecting us to win it this year, but we're putting pieces in place that are going to allow us. Rondo's 1-year deal does two things. One, it gives them a guy who's been in the fire, who's won a world championship. It's going to help mentor some of those young players, and it also allows LeBron to have another facilitator out there. Plus, it's going to help Lonzo Ball's development, I think, as well, because he's another guy who has struggled with his shot but still has all the other facets. I just think overall they're going to be solid. I think they'll be a playoff team. But remember, I think their thoughts are still about how can we get another A-list guy? Yeah. Is it going to be free agency next year where they're going to have cap space, or is it going to be a potential trade during the course of this upcoming season? So the jury's still out on their roster. And on who they ultimately are going to be, but they now have become far more relevant than they were a couple days ago, and the Western Conference just got a lot stronger.
So they didn't land Paul George in free agency or DeMarcus Cousins. You mentioned possibly a trade. Well, Kawhi Leonard still a member of the Spurs as of this moment. However, there are media reports say that Kawhi still has his sights on one day becoming a Laker. We heard the same thing, though, with Paul George a year ago.
Exactly.
But now that the Lakers do have LeBron on the roster, Billy, do you feel like they have more or less pressure to go out and make a very aggressive and appealing offer to the Spurs to complete a trade for Kawhi?
Well, I agree with Greg. There's no rush. You got LeBron James right now, and he committed for 4 years, so you're not in a rush to win this year. So you don't want to do a deal just to get Kawhi and give up a lot of pieces and be stuck with just LeBron and Kawhi. So I think they're going to be patient. They're not going to give up the farm to San Antonio. And they may know San Antonio really doesn't want to trade him there. And everybody keeps sending reports he wants to play for the Lakers. He may want to play for the Clippers. He's from it's LA, and the Clippers are going to have room. So I think the Lakers right now are focused on putting guys around LeBron that can compete. They've got the young guys that can score. Kuzma and those guys, they make the Ingram can shoot it. But now they got some veteran guys. So if they are playing the Golden State Warriors, Lance Stevenson isn't going to back down. Rondo's not going to back down. So LeBron's got some guys that go in the trenches and battle with him. And that's really what they're doing to go along with the young guys. You can't win in this league with just young guys. So now they got some old guys to go with the young guys. So on certain nights, those young guys are going to have to give them the energy and keep it close so then the old guys can try to win it in the game.
Get your thoughts later on a team from the East that may want to make a push for Kawhi Leonard. Much more LeBron to the Lakers talk. Next, who will join LeBron and Luke Walton's starting five? And more reaction from the Warriors not being scared by the boogeyman. Plenty to get to, wrapping up day 2 of free agency 2018. All right, back on free agent fever, and the big story is DeMarcus Cousins for how about $5.3 million on a 1-year deal going to Golden State to play with Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Kevin Durant. Well, it's not $23 million for 1 year, but J.J. Redick was cool to return to Philly for 1 more year at just $13 million. Redick, a huge part of the resurgence by the Sixers this past year. It was a busy day 2 of free agency around the association, not just Cousins and Redick, but the Clippers. They're bringing back Avery Bradley for a reported 2 years, spent $25 million after being dealt from Detroit in the Blake Griffin trade. Bradley missed some significant time due to a sports hernia injury, but he'll play once again for Doc Rivers with the Clippers. Some more deals that got done on day 2, including Steph Curry going out west to bolster the Blazers' backcourt and be closer to his brother Steph. Jazz bringing back Eric Favors. We'll have much more free agency talk in a moment. First, let's get to some highlights, basketball highlights. Summer League underway. The Lakers, all the talk.
There go that man.
Duke. We talked already. So the Lakers Summer League team, LeBron not playing in this game, but Bagley is the number 2 pick of the draft for the Sacramento Kings. Our first poster of the summer.
And he looks terrific.
Yeah, I mean, Mel Vogel, if you're going to try to block that, you got to meet a little further out.
Don't use your face.
My goodness. Well, Bagley, a little further out, splash. You like the number 2 pick that Sacramento made.
I love his talent. You could make an argument he's the best player in the draft. I mean, that kid has got a chance to be special.
Talk about the Lakers need 3-point shooting. How about the big fella, Bo Wagner? No, he could knock it down. He had 23 points. De'Aaron Fox coming back for his second season. And you always see it here, guys. The second-year players at Summer League look like they're on a different level.
They are. They've had a full year of NBA tutelage, playing with tremendous confidence, and it's nice to see De'Aaron Fox looking really good in his second go-round.
Josh Hart beating the buzzer to end the second. Hart had 23 points. More from De'Aaron Fox, who had 23 points, Billy.
Well, I like it, this kid. The one thing is, playing in this, he's playing with lots more confidence, a lot more better pace than he did during the regular season.
Fox, then Frank Eason misses, but Bagley gets the rebound and puts it in. Bagley, 18 points, 6 rebounds, and all right. I guess the Kings won the draft, huh?
So the one thing is, he turns in, goes with that left hand, and so they're going to scout that out.
Well, plenty of time to talk about the Kings, but with LeBron going to the Lakers, and we got a little sample there of what some of those young guys that the Lakers have picked up over the last couple of weeks will look like with Wagner here. But you look at this roster here, and we talked about adding Rondo and Stevenson, the ball handlers. But, guys, let's talk about what this means for Lonzo Ball. G.A., you had mentioned you think that, he can make it work. First, I want to get your thoughts here on there's some thought here that the Lakers are piling up all of these assets here to make a move, whether it's for Kawhi, but maybe they'll look to move Lonzo Ball.
I think they're very happy with Lonzo Ball as a player. I've talked to the people there. They love the kid as a player. Now, granted, let's have perspective. Now their whole philosophy has shifted. They just signed LeBron James. Now they're thinking championship. This was a similar dynamic to what Cleveland was going through when they hired David Blatt before LeBron signed on to come back. He went there to develop young talent. All of a sudden, he's got to try to win a championship. So that's the dynamic that this Laker team finds himself in now. Now they're going to start trying to push toward a championship. Lonzo Ball's going to play if healthy, and I think he's going to have a good year. But what this is going to do, one, Rondo can be a mentor to him. Two, Rondo's going to push him because Rondo's going to want to play. He's on a one-year deal.
Right.
And three, it's going to expedite their learning curve for all these young guys, for Kuzma, for Ingram. They're all going to have an opportunity to still be a part of the future. But if they don't feel as an organization that these guys are going to be at the point where we can win a championship in 2 years, then I could very well see them maybe making a move to go in a different direction. But I don't think they're going into it with the mindset that they're not a part of our future. They just want that future to be now.
Well, there's a lot of similar pieces, and as we mentioned, not very many outside shooters here. We asked you, Billy, to kind of look at that depth chart and come up with what are the other 4 guys, because we're pretty sure LeBron's starting, right?
Yeah, good chance. There's a good
Billy,
chance.
who do you think as of now, and listen, this roster may not be complete yet, but as of today, who are you starting with LeBron?
I like this young athletic team. You put Ball out there, who's going to push it. Ingram can make a shot. Kuzma can make a shot. You go small athletic, put LeBron out there and let McGee start, almost like he did in Golden State. Maybe the first 4 minutes and you bring guys in, because then you come off the bench. If the young guys aren't doing it, you come off the bench with guys like Stevenson. You come off the bench with Rondo. If you start the veterans and they don't have it that night, then you got to go to the young guys, hoping they can step up. I'd rather start the young guys, let them play, and go to the veterans on the bench, because you know what they're going to bring every night.
Is this a playoff team?
Yes. Yes. I don't think that any team LeBron would be on wouldn't be a playoff.
We always play that game, right? If you place LeBron on this team,
They'd be a playoff team.
can he get into the playoffs? The answer is generally yes. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, much more coming up on DeMarcus Cousins going to Golden State. How Kevin Durant took less, paving the way for the Warriors to go out and get one of the most versatile big men in all of the NBA. Well, is Joel Embiid just appreciating the greatness of the Warriors? They're able to add a talent like DeMarcus Cousins. Well, when the news broke Monday night on Free Agent Fever here on NBA TV, our resident GM, David Griffin, put into context some polarizing comments made a couple of years back by a Warriors owner to the New York Times Magazine.
They're going to be maybe the best team in the league without him.
Yep.
And the reality is they can wait until he's 100% and then unleash that on the rest of the league. They will have had no time to watch. Think about this. If he comes out and plays his first game, let's say March 1st, that makes Boogie Cousins for $5 million and all the tax money they're going to pay on that $5 million. Basically like their buyout acquisition. And you're going to watch that team play for a month and a half. You're not going to have any time to prepare for what it looks like, and then you have to adjust to it. I remember Joe Lacob made a comment once, and everybody bristled, called them light years ahead of the rest of the league. At this point, I think that might have been an understatement of what it was that they were cooking up at the time. It was foreshadowing, and we didn't know it. And now in hindsight, I understand it. They had designs on things nobody had ever thought about doing in the NBA. And what they've done now is they said, what's our Achilles heel? What's the one way people think they can beat us? And this is it.
Willing to do things others won't. Anthony Slater covers the Golden State Warriors for The Athletic. This had to be a shocker for you. Anthony, let's start with the fact that, the Warriors have grown some enemies, some venom over the last couple of years as their greatness has gotten better, adding Kevin Durant. What do you think the hate level or the venom level will be now around the NBA?
It's high. Just look at Twitter tonight, right? I mean, and it is a bargain for them. It gives them 5 All-Stars, which is pretty ridiculous. 5 guys in their prime, which I believe I saw a stat. This is the first time team will have 5 All-Stars from the previous season since 1975-76 Celtics. So the gathering of talent is unbelievable, but the hate for the Warriors is it rises a little bit, but I'm not sure it could have risen from the top level. It was already kind of ahead.
The planning and the vision that this front office has, not ever being satisfied with what they have in their current stable, but it also took some help from Kevin Durant. Can you break down for us exactly what happened with Durant's contract that helped make this Boogie contract possible?
Yeah, so the Warriors are so far in the tax that they didn't know if they were going to use their taxpayer mid-level exception this offseason, which is $5.3 million, because it was going to cost them about $22 million just to use it. And they needed to find a player that was worth it. But the fact that Kevin Durant, instead of taking a 2+1 or his full max, which would have started his salary at $35-ish million per year next year, actually he could only start it at $30 now. That $5 million in savings is really about 21 or so in tax savings, and they can basically shuttle that over to Cousins and not feel that financial hit as much. So again, like he did last year when he gave a bunch of money back to let them, get Iguodala and Livingston, he kind of did it again. This time I don't think it was as purposeful, but it saves the Warriors money, and it's another thing that the rest of the league is kind of not going to be too happy about.
Well, winning seems to be the cure-all, right? Guys come here and they conform to what the system is, but you're around this team on a daily basis. How does Cousins, with the reputation he has around the league, and how will others, with him putting up big numbers on the court and guys kind of balancing all out with who scores, who assists, who rebounds, how do you think this all gels together?
It's going to be very interesting, and the thing that people, just because the name of DeMarcus Cousins has kind of throttled people, a lot of people don't remember he's coming off an Achilles tear. He's probably not going to be ready till December and January. And he's a 270-pound dude that has guard-type moves, switching moves on the perimeter that could be hard to play on a recovering Achilles tendon. So I don't know how good he's going to look, especially early on, knocking off some of that rust. He's never played with this much talent. There's nobody really who's ever played with this much talent. So he's a 25-point-per-game scorer in his career. What if he's only getting, 13 and, he's kind of more in the second unit, and then he's never played high-level playoff basketball? What about him in a Rockets series where, maybe Houston's trying to isolate him, and maybe the Warriors, instead of having him on the court, want Andre Iguodala for defensive purposes? How does he handle that type of stuff? It's all going to be very interesting, but at the same time, they have not had an offensive talent in the center spot at all. They had 4 combined threes from their 6 centers last year, and DeMarcus Cousins had 124 himself last year in 48 games. So it's potentially unbelievable, the pick-and-roll options, all the different stuff they could do. But it's going to take time to gel, especially with him coming off the injury.
Are they done now in the Bay Area?
or two done. Well, I mean, they still got 3 roster spots they're going to want to give. They really need wings. They only really got like 3 wings because they're guard heavy, and they still got the big man spot, and they don't have any money. I mean, they're basically just going to need to go bargain shopping for some veteran minimum wings.
All right, Anthony Slater from The Athletic breaking down how the Warriors were able to get DeMarcus Cousins to the Bay. Thanks so much, Anthony. Read his work on The Athletic. Much more to come on this edition of Free Agent Fever. What's the latest on the Kawhi Leonard rumors? Can the Lakers get him? What about a team in the Eastern Conference? Plus, Summer League is underway. We'll get you a matchup between the 4th pick and the 5th pick of the 2018 draft. Jaren Jackson goes up against Trae Young from Utah.
CK.
All right, let's get you more Summer League highlights. We got 4 versus 5 in the 2018 NBA draft. Jaren Jackson Jr., Trae Young. It is the Hawks with Trae Young, and Jaren Jackson is on Memphis. And Trae Young airballed his first three-point shot. Not a good start.
I thought Trae Young played for Memphis because the guy from Memphis was the one dropping them threes.
Oh, my goodness. And Trae Young, rough start, 0 for 9 in the first half from the field.
Well, I think it's a big adjustment for him because there's bigger length. Guys are jumping out. Guys are going at him because they saw what he did. They saw he was able to score.
And the one thing I will say about him is I look more at the shot selections. If he's getting the shots he wants, I think he's going to be fine. But that's the dude that was the shooter.
How about the big fella going outside?
He can shoot it, man.
Jaren Jackson. The Hawks passed up on this guy, right?
I love his size. I love the fact he can shoot, and he's gotten confidence in his abilities.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jackson was just tremendous. Memphis up at the half.
See, like that shot there, like he's getting his shots,
Yeah.
and he can shoot.
Well, Trae
So
Young
he'll
was
be
just
fine.
1 of 11 from downtown. He would take it inside, get the pretty reverse lay in there.
If you can score, you'll figure out a way to score.
Right. Trae Young had 16 points, 4 of 20 from the floor, more from Jaren Jackson. He had 8 3-pointers. He was 8 of 13 from downtown, 29 points.
Think he was sending a message?
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe you should have taken me?
Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. Some of those threes.
Unbelievable. Take a look at what these 2 rookies did in their very first pro game. Wasn't a regular season NBA game, and Trae Young and Jaren Jackson had to deal with the air up there, the thin air in Utah. But, hey, Jaren Jackson certainly won this battle, but plenty more opportunity for Trae Young. I'll tell you in a moment where you can see him again in the near future right here on NBA TV. Golden State and Miami, the California Classic.
I like that idea.
In Sacramento.
Here's Bam Adebayo, another second-year player. Going right at Jordan Bell, another second-year player. Bam Adebayo there, the bucket and the foul. He had 14-14. Derrick Jones.
Oh! That's that former running rebel, baby.
Oh, okay.
Pogo stick.
Okay.
That dude is like one of the most freakish athletes I've ever seen.
He had 24 in the Summer League opener at the Cali Classic. Warriors, Jordan Bell, some defense.
Jordan Bell not with the offense.
Didn't he do that during his rookie year, and he actually put it down? But
yeah. He's done that a few times.
In a game.
That's
Risky
what you
move.
Hey,
I don't
he
know.
played in the finals. He got a ring.
I don't know
I
if
can
Steve
tell.
was looking to see if he was looking
Duke.
like Jack in the Pool plays. More Duke guys, that's right. Not this guy. He went to Miami. Lonnie Walker. The Grayson Allen for the Jazz. Lonnie Walker for the Spurs. Allen getting it up to Tony Bradley, who had 11-11. Derek White. He hits the 3. He had a team high 22.
He was on something in this one.
You were into this one.
Yeah, man. It's exciting because with free agency and in the rookie class, look, we're not the only ones into it.
Donovan Mitchell watching Grayson Allen. More from Allen. Jazz up big. Interesting pickup here by the Jazz.
But no, I like him, the fact I think he's going to a great situation where Quinn Snyder will let him fill out the offense.
Another Duke guy. He only mentioned.
Yeah,
Duke guy.
Exactly. But they're the only guys he watches.
Lonnie Walker 3 of 17 from the floor. Grayson Allen 4 of 16 from the field. 11 points. Flirted with a triple-double. 7 assists. 8 rebounds. Got 3 more Summer League games for you on Tuesday. Hawks and Spurs starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And, of course, make sure you tune in to us right here on Free Agent Fever as soon as the Summer League action wraps up out west. Well, what is going on with Kawhi Leonard? We heard from Jabbar Young, who covers the Spurs for the San Antonio Express News, for the most up-to-date rumors on where he is or is not going.
I think as long as Kawhi Leonard is in the San Antonio Spurs' property, he's under contract. As long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always some hope that things can be repaired. Obviously, He's probably being kept, in the loop as far as what the Spurs are going to probably be trying to do in regards to trying to trade him, which he's requested. But at the same time, they're also sending signals like, listen, we still want to work this out. So if we get down to the wire and all of a sudden, Kawhi, you have a change of heart, let's sit down, let's talk, let's try to work it out. And I think also Kawhi has to also, in his head, he has to be prepared to possibly come back here for another season, because if the Spurs don't find a deal that's good enough for them, they don't pull that trigger, and I don't blame them for not pulling that trigger. It has to be a win-win for both parties. It just can't be a one-sided thing. Kawhi Leonard is under contract. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar player. The Spurs are not going to give him up for anything, and so he has to honor that deal. And I don't think he'll sit out. I know all that, the rumblings have been sitting out. I don't think that's going to happen. So, again, as long as he's in the Spurs program, as long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always room for things to be worked out, even if it's slim. When training camp comes around, I believe Kawhi Leonard is going to be 100%. Again, I don't see him sitting out. I don't think he'll use that tactic to do that. It will diminish his value significantly, and he understands that. So I don't think that's the case at all, unless the injury is that bad again. And then if it's that bad, then also you diminish your value, and also people start to look at this and say, wait a minute, maybe the Spurs were smart to not give him that max contract. Maybe the people were smart to not give up all these assets. So again, I don't think Kawhi uses that. I think he will be 100% come training camp with any team that he's with.
All right, thanks to Jabari Young again from the San Antonio Express News. Billy King, Greg Anthony. We talked earlier in the show on whether you believe the Lakers should provide that Godfather-type offer to the Spurs in exchange for Kawhi Leonard. But what about teams in the Eastern Conference? Now that LeBron, who has dominated the East for 8 straight years going to the finals, GA, what about Boston? What about Philly? Teams who haven't made big moves. They've had to make some minor moves here in the first couple of days of free agency. Should they be pretty aggressive?
I would be. Listen, I think if you're Boston, it's not just about being the favorites to win the East. You want to have a chance to actually win it. Mm-hmm. And as much as you love their young talent, to assume that they're good enough to win it, I think would be a bit of fool's gold. I love Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they're not at the level of Kawhi Leonard. And I just think if you could make a deal to get Kawhi Leonard, if you're the Celtics or the Sixers, you now get yourself to a point where you could potentially win it all. And that's why I think those two teams should be in that mix.
Well, I think the Celtics, I think Danny Ainge believes that they are good enough to compete with Golden State. So he's thinking getting Gordon Hayward back, getting Kyrie back, that they're going to be okay. I think the Sixers are a team that need that piece. They need Kawhi Leonard to go along with Simmons, to go along with Embiid. So for them, I think it makes much more sense because you add that piece, and Brett Brown coached him, so he knows him, right. And maybe he stays there, and now you've got those three to go long term. So I think it's more apparent for the Sixers, but I think they can't give away so much, and he leaves and hurts their franchise. So that's one thing I think. There was a report out there, I think, where they're asking 3 first-round picks from the Sixers. And to me, I don't think they do that. So I think both teams are going to be patient because both of them know that they're on the cusp. Sixers made the second round. Boston thinks we got that far without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, so we're going to be good.
See, I disagree with you on this, though, Billy, because if I'm Boston or Philly, it's just like when you made your deal for LeBron. If I get Kawhi Leonard on that Sixers roster, those first-round picks aren't lottery picks. Yeah. They're late first-round picks. I can withstand that for 3 years. Right. My core, he would be my oldest, best player at 27. Right. My other 2 guys are early 20s. I could live with that deal. And again, those 3 picks may not ever resort in a player of the caliber, and it won't allow you to compete for a championship today. And I have the same scenario with Boston. Boston has a really, really good team. But with Kawhi and Gordon Hayward, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward coming back, they're still going to have to shuffle that lineup some. And now they're going to go in with a different mindset. They're going to have the expectation factor over their head. They're not going to be the really good story anymore. And when you have expectations, things change. You see teams differently now. I just think if either of those teams has a chance to pull the trigger, I think you almost have to. I think he could be a difference maker. Now, the question is, can you re-sign him? That's the bigger issue.
Didn't Paul George show us something? Right?
Well, yeah, but Paul George is Paul George. Lakers, and also, Paul George never said he was going to L.A. That's what all the speculation was. And, again, same thing with Kawhi Leonard. I haven't heard. He said he liked it, but I never heard him say, I'm going to L.A. I never heard that.
But he said his dream was to play in L.A., right?
But also, I think the difference is Oklahoma City was a team that, they had been winning for a long time. So the culture was already set of a team that been to the
But doesn't a
finals.
team like Boston have to believe in their culture to say that if we give up a lot to get Kawhi, we can use these 12 months as a recruiting pitch as opposed to maybe one phone call in free agency?
Yeah, but I think Boston feels they've got all these pieces there, so they don't have the Sixers. On the other hand, to give up 3 picks, and also you're going to give up some players. Sarge and like that. So to me, that's a lot, especially if you know he's not going to stay.
Well, that's the issue. If I got a guarantee that he's going to resign, if I'm Philly, I could absolutely make this deal.
Well, stay tuned. It's been a busy start to free agency. We
2
may get
first-rounders.
ourselves
two.
And give him the Miami 2021. That Miami pick in there. There you go.
17. Well, LeBron James is off to L.A., but what's left behind in Cleveland? Kevin Love is still there. Should Kevin Love be dealt, or should the Cavs bring him back?
Did you say the logo's still there?
Regardless of LeBron returning to Cleveland or not. Now we know he is heading to Los Angeles to play for the Lakers. Monday, Jason Lloyd of The Athletic says that multiple sources from around the league insist that the Cavs are indeed open to moving Kevin Love. He's on the books for $24 million next season, $25.5 million on a player option for the 1920 season. Billy, should the Cavs look to deal Kevin Love?
I don't think they should look the deal, but I think they should listen to any offers from anybody because they're in a position right now. They're not where they were trying to get to a championship. So they got to listen. If somebody makes a deal for Kevin Love, even though he's in the last year of his deal, so you don't want to take a contract back, now listen to somebody you want to build with going forward. So if you're getting young pieces, yes. But just to trade them, I wouldn't just give them away. There are other guys on that roster with 2 years on their deal. I would try to do everything I can to move them to try to give you cap flexibility. But Kevin Love is somebody that if you want to let him play it out and then use that space at the end of the year or maybe trade him at the deadline. But you're going to listen to offers right now because you're not really going anywhere right now. LeBron's gone, so you're going to listen to offers of anybody in that roster. And Kevin's probably the most valuable.
And the other thing that you could also entertain is if you feel like you have a bad contract, you could put that in the deal. If you want Kevin Love, you've got to take this contract with it.
Like George Hill.
George Hill, you might even consider J.R. Smith. So like those are other ways that you can try to get rid of contracts that you deem to be bad contracts at this point based on where that roster is. So it's something that they're definitely going to have to look at moving forward. And if you're Kevin Love, you probably would welcome the opportunity, having gotten used to playing for championships. He'd probably like the opportunity to go play for a contender.
Looking up and down the East, with LeBron out, are the Cavs a playoff team?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just don't think so.
Right, LeBron.
Well, remember, this team with LeBron won 50.
Right.
It wasn't like they were winning 60, 62. Right. So that roster, absent LeBron, absent Kyrie, it's not quite the same.
And they still got decisions like Hood's a free agent, so they've got to make some decisions on some guys.
There are still plenty of good free agents out in the market, both of the unrestricted and restricted variety. We come back on this edition of Free Agent Fever. We'll take a look at a big man who Houston would love to bring back, and other GMs salivating to put out an offer sheet on Clint Capella. Where will he end up?
More excitement than just utter surprise, and you better believe that the sun is definitely shining out here in L.A. and a lot of Lakers fans are really happy. LeBron is in that ilk. I mean, he's as good as it gets. LeBron is as good of a player as the NBA has ever seen. And him going to the Lakers, they're not a championship caliber team right now today, but they're a playoff team, and they're a team that can win a series or two. I just don't think that they are quite as good as Houston or Golden State right now, But this is huge for Magic, huge for the Lakers, and big for the NBA.
Well, Kevin McHale and Derek Fisher reacting to the news of LeBron going to the Lakers. Also got the big stunner of the Warriors getting DeMarcus Cousins, but still plenty of great talent out in the market. Many of the restricted free agent variety, including Clint Capella, who reportedly met with the Rockets on Sunday. His agent aggressively, according to reports, trying to seek other offers. He's a guy that gave the Rockets. Capella did about 14, 11, and 2 blocks a game. And now with DeMarcus Cousins going to the Warriors, isn't there even more of a sense of urgency to bring back Capella?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you forget that this team was a game away from making it to the NBA Finals. They had 2 opportunities to close out the Warriors, and you could argue, but for that injury to Chris Paul, they may very well have done it. And the reason why they may have done it is Clint Capella is a huge part of that. And we were talking earlier, Billy, I mean, once they went all in on Chris Paul, that in essence means they got to go all in on Clint Capella, because without him on that roster, there's not a guarantee that they're the second best team or one of the top 2 teams in the Western Conference.
Well, and you look at the fact they lost Trevor Ariza, who was a big part of their defense, and Capella's a big part of defense. So if you don't re-sign him, that's 2 of your defensive players, and you got to go play Golden State now, who's just added Boogie Cousins, and they got the offense. Even though you came close, those 2 guys are a big part of it. So, and also the fact next year there are going to be a lot of teams with cap space. So if he takes just the qualifying arm, which is his decision, next year he's unrestricted, and you may lose him because everybody's going to be going after him.
Billy, let's look at some of these other guys. I want to kind of lump them together with Zach LaVine and Jabari Parker, some of these guys. From a team standpoint, is there a concern that you could kind of tick off the player, that you're making him go search out for that other offer that you indeed are intending to match rather than just giving him what you'd pay him?
Well, some of them you are. Like Jabari, I think Milwaukee it's like a little love-hate relationship. They're not sure what they want to do. But Capella is somebody definitely you worry about. But Jabari, I think they're trying to get the number to their liking if they're going to bring him back. Zach LaVine, I think there's a relationship there. They're negotiating where they both feel comfortable. I think that one is not as much where they can take him home. I think he wants to be there. They want him there. They're just trying to get to the right number because there are some teams out there that can put an offer sheet. Atlanta could put one on Zach LaVine. So they don't want to get to the point because a lot of agents, what they'll do, they'll go to Atlanta and say, put an offer sheet. We know Chicago match it. Just put it in. You don't have to force it. So teams have done that and forced those other teams to have to match.
And I don't think that from a team standpoint, you almost want to allow the market to be set. And from a player's perspective, if you're not a max guy, you got to almost be willing to bet on yourself. And by that, I mean some of those guys like Clint Capella, he may not want to sign the extension. He may want to let his deal play out because he's going to have tremendous value next season. And for him to do what he needs to do is a lot easier than a guy that's got to go get 28 a night.
Yeah.
You know, his skill set, he's going to be comfortable doing what's necessary for him to be successful in that situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out because now that all the big fish are gone, to your point with a team like Atlanta, you may start to see some of these deals offered to some of these restricted free agents.
No Brinks truck being backed up to Isaiah Thomas, but is there a market for IT right now?
I think there's a market, but maybe not the number he wanted. He may end up getting a deal like Cousins got, where it's a 1 year, 5.3. But if he's going to do that, he's got to go to the right situation where he's allowed to flourish and play and get his numbers and prove it right. He's the old IT that was in Boston.
And it probably won't be in L.A.
Well, maybe the Clippers.
It could be with the Clippers, but I don't think there's any doubt. And you know what? If I'm IT, he might want a 1 year deal too for an opportunity to prove his value. And again, there's going to be a lot of money in free agency next year because there's going to be some big names out there, and not everybody can sign them. And if he goes to the right situation, he could very well find himself with a chance to cash in.
All these guys taking 1 year deals makes me wonder if we're going to be looking next season to see if guys are playing for a contract or playing to win, which sometimes can be different.
And next year we'll be on from July 1st until like July 9th with all these guys, all this money.
Yeah, right.
We're going to be on every day, all day.
Well, that's fine. You love that, right?
Yeah.
All right, this shock still has not officially decided yet. DeMarcus Cousins going to Golden State. More reaction from the league and the world. Phone off. That's my question.
They tell you to on the plane.
Yeah, okay. Well,
airplane mode, baby. Airplane mode.
Yeah, J.J. Watt, he's got the ultimate respect for the NBA. He certainly sees it wild.
J.J. could have played in the NBA.
Reggie weighing in, center of the universe. Well, yeah, free agency would slow down and have time to go see Uncle Drew. Will be hopefully. It looks like DeMarcus not. He's not going to be cursed, right? He's not going to put the curse on him here. Joel Embiid, you knew he was going to weigh in. We showed you some tweets earlier. Still time to change his mind. Like who else? Like DeAndre Jordan from a few years ago. Let's make sure DeAndre signs in Dallas, huh?
Oh, what if Dallas reversed psychology? That would be
Yusuf Nurkic.
Oh man,
man, people outside of the Bay Area not too happy. What do you guys think?
It's the rules. They play within the rules, and they
first of all, nobody else signed him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were beating us down his door to break struck, right? To the
Much
victor
more
goes
free
the
agent
spoil.
coverage at NBA.com for Billy and GA and our crew. I'm Jared.